Hello YouTube, this is Tonga, and today I'll be bringing you an Napoleon Total War online commentary video where I'll be playing as Sweden against my opponent Lanfer, who will be playing as France. Right, so to kickstart off the game, I'll be rushing 2 units of dragoons and my horse artillery to the central hill in the Italian grasslands. My army consists of 4 Jaegers, 5 line infantry, 1 life guard, 2 horse drawn cannons, 2 dragoons that you just saw, 2 life guard of horse, 2 hussars, and Anders Frederick is my commander. So right here I'm rushing my dragoons to protect my horse drawn cannons to the central mound on the middle of the map so I can gain artillery superiority. So my opponent on his left flank, he has 2 chasses cheval musket cav. He has 2 young guard, 1 fusilier of line, and 1 Swiss foot. On his right flank, his general, which is general staff, is there. He has 2 young guard, 1 Swiss foot, 2 fusilier, 1 cannon, 2 chasses, and 2 Voltiger skirmisher units. He has 1 cannon on either flank, and he's garrisoned that house with his young guard. Alright, so I've put my horse-drawn artillery. Those guys have gloves and top hats. Not the most practical of artillery crewman gear, but anyway, they get the job done well enough. So those are my dragoons, which I've placed to protect my horse artillery, and I'm going to open fire on this house filled with young guard. Is a tempting target, and although I would prefer to go after his cav, and after his horse artillery, the young guard packed in that house like sardines is going to make an excellent target. Yeah, my opponent has tons of guard infantry and he has tons more line infantry in total than me, so I'm going to have to rely on my cav superiority and my skirmishers if I'm going to carry the day, and my artillery on that central mound. So now I have some troops moving through the forest on the extreme right of the map. I have my troops moving through each valley, while my opponent is just content to sit in his starting deployment zone to wait for me to come to him while he returns 5 of his cannons, and he killed a few of my dragoons over there. So those are my cannons just returning fire. That house is taking a pounding, and his young guard, they've lost a good number of men. About 30 men died in that house. You can see their corpses inside the house right there, and they're gonna bail out of that house before I can kill any more of them. So now my opponent knows he can't just garrison buildings with impunity, and those are my Jaegers sitting in the forest, just beyond range of that house. So I'm pushing my troops on my left wing up here. I'm going to focus my attack on the left wing first, and my opponent's rushing out his Voltiger skirmishers to meet the threat of my army, and he's assembling his line infantry to meet my troops as well on my left flank. So my troops are divided up here. I have a couple of 2 units, 1 line infantry and 1 Jaeger unit on that little hill, while 1 Jaeger and 2 line infantry units are in that little valley with the forest. So some of my Jaegers start opening fire on a line infantry unit, although his guys have good cover in the forest, so they're not going to take too many casualties. And my opponent's going to rush up some of his Voltigers to answer them. Here are my Jaegers setting up stakes to provide cover and to ward off any cav rushes. My opponent has some chasseur cheval cav. And so my guys are exchanging some fire with my opponent's skirmishers right now, although not too much is happening. So my opponent's trying to move some of his skirmishers up, although my second unit of Jaegers catches them in a crossfire and they take a couple of casualties. Now my opponent, he's gonna try and overwhelm my guys with his superior line infantry and young guard infantry units. So my Jaegers get a few pot shots off, although they start getting shredded by his line infantry, and I'm gonna have to pull them back before they get caught in a prolonged firefight with those guys. So my opponent made a mistake of moving his Voltigers up. I think they were ordered to attack my Jaegers, and they followed my Jaegers, so they got shredded by a volley of line infantry fire. So now my opponent, he's had enough of all this little skirmishing, so he's gonna rush 2 units of young guard and 1 unit of Swiss foot. The Swiss foot are excellent line infantry, and I targeted the big solid dense ranks, and I took out a whole section of Swiss foot over there. And my opponent has his skirmishers are all tied up, so he's gonna have to make the first move, or my cannons are gonna pound his men. So my line infantry unleashed a withering volley of fire on his young guard and killed a good number of them. Although his guys start returning fire, and they're punching great big gaps between the ranks of my line infantry. My guys are only regular line infantry, so they're not going to stand up to these young guard and Swiss foot in a straight up fight. So I'm moving my second unit of guys to flank them, and meanwhile I've sent my dragoons from the central mound to target his general and his cannons. Although a lot of my guys got shot down by the Chasseurs of Cheval, and my enemy's general decides to meet my dragoons head on. My dragoons are way behind enemy lines, and they're really demoralized from enemy numbers, and so my guys are getting hacked up quite badly here, and in the end I lose both units of dragoons, and not much comes to that from that. Here my opponent, while he's distracted, I launched my left wing cav into some of his young guard troops before they get formed up in the squares. So my guys are tying up his young guard troops and I'm forcing his fusiliers in a square. I could just run into them and hack them to pieces. And while his guys are in squares, I'm ordering my cannons and my line infantry to open fire on them, so his squares are gonna get ripped to shreds, while my cav are engaged in a fight with my opponent's cav and his young guard. Now young guard are excellent line infantry, so they're actually gonna tear up my cav quite badly, but I need to use my cav to even the odds for my infantry. Otherwise my infantry aren't gonna stand a chance against these guard units. So that's just a bit of the melee between my cav and my opponent's guard infantry. His guard infantry are really tearing up my cav. Even my horse guards aren't really standing much of a chance right there. But that was the fusilier of line square that got shredded by artillery and line infantry fire. Now one of my units of line infantry took a cannonball on the right side, although I didn't lose too many men, thankfully. So now I'm gonna try and save what's left of my cav. I'm gonna use my my guard cav, who are fat, slow, and heavy, as bait, so my opponent gets bogged down on them while I rush my surviving hussars around. I'm gonna try and target his cannons, which I need to kill if I'm gonna win this battle quickly on my left flank. So my hussars, they're rushing straight for the cannons, although my opponent set up some stakes, so I turn my cav around at the last second, and while his Voltigers are out of formation, I launch my hussars in. Although my hussars already have pretty poor morale, they're tired, they've lost a lot of men, so the cannon crew actually succeeds in fighting off my hussars, which is quite unfortunate for me. And there come the rest of my opponent's cav, and that is the death spell for my surviving hussars, so they get really hacked up nicely there. Although I've essentially crippled most of my opponent's infantry units on my right, and my cannons are continuing to bombard my opponent's artillery positions, and that unit of artillery only has one cannon left, and a lot of guys are dead there. Although I have no idea why those guys are still holding their ground, even though there's so few of them left. So my opponent has some cav left, so this is my men in the square fending off his surviving cav. So on my left flank I used my cav to even the odds between I used my cav to even the fight for my infantry, and I succeeded in using lower quality infantry in lesser numbers to defeat higher quality and more innumerable enemy line infantry. So that's some melee fighting going on between my guy, and my guy just speared that Voltiger through the stomach and smashed him in the face. And right there, that's me triumphant on my left wing. I'm just mopping up on my left, just hunting down the last of these Voltiger skirmishers. They've been quite pesky and a bit annoying, so they don't stand a chance against my line infantry in a bayonet fight. Yeah, that's some of the melee combat animations. They're quite slick in Napoleon, although it means only that all melee fights are one-on-one, so a smaller elite unit of infantry can actually succeed in holding off a larger lower quality unit of infantry. So my opponent decides to take his remaining cav and rush for my cannons, although I managed to turn my cannons around in time with canister shot and I'm just gunning down his cav. He took a bit too long to get his cav to attack my guys, and point blank canister shots from my cannons absolutely shredded his cav, so they got really modern. My cav, my surviving right wing cav came over and hunted the rest of these guys down, so his little attack on my cannons several of my attacks on his cannons failed ultimately. Although one of my cannon units, they lost a lot of their horses, so they're going to be stuck there for the rest of the map. Not that it matters, because they're in a good position. Now my opponent knows he's outgunned, so he's going to try and break my right wing before my victorious left wing soldiers can arrive at the scene. Now here he has two right here he's moving his young guard units up, and finally I have a guard unit of my own, and I'm gonna meet his guys head on. I've assembled my guys in a long thin line to maximize firepower, and without any cav there's not much threat of cav rush, so I'm quite content to leave my guys in long thin lines. Here I'm pulling my guys back in a fire and retreat method to annoy and frustrate his two units of I think that's Swiss foot over there. So my opponent decides that those guys are taking up too much time from the main fight going on here while his young guard are getting shredded. I'm going to take my right wing cav and I launch a feint here and force his guys into squares, and this evens the fight for my guys, because his young guard were doing some pretty good heavy damage to my guys even though I outnumbered him. So I had some hussars going after my opponent's general, and I'm just hounding his general right there. My hussars are taking heavy casualties, running between squares and getting shot up in the process, and I'm really trying to take out his general. Although his two units of Fusilier, I think there's a Swiss foot over there. One unit of Fusilier and one unit of Swiss foot. My hussars get caught up on them, but they managed to delay those line infantry from reinforcing the young guard here, and the young guard are getting really shot to pieces. So that's my hussars getting mixed in with the those are more young guard. Wow, my opponent really has tons of guard infantry. So then what's left of his line infantry, I can't really see from where I think they're actually Fusilier, or could they could be young guard, I can't tell. Anyway, they're getting shredded by musket fire, and my opponent manages to rush his Swiss foot to reinforce his guys, but it's way too late. One of his young guard units has collapsed. His guys finally managed to break through my hussars, but now my own guard infantry are prepared to meet them head on, and I unleash a withering volley of musket fire on those guys, and they're getting shredded even before they can get set up in position. And I have my two units of one unit of Jaeger and one line infantry coming up behind him, so his guys are all but surrounded, and my cav charge into his Swiss foot before they can get in the square formation. So my guys start hacking them up nicely, because they're not in formation, and when infantry is caught out in the open like this, flanked by cav, they really don't stand much of a chance, especially against heavy cav. So that's my guys chopping his Swiss foot to pieces, and I'm trying to get my cav out of there while I line up my guys for more musket volleys and his Swiss foot run. Although his last unit of Voltiger skirmishers, they unleash a powerful punishing volley on my surviving lifeguard, and I send my lifeguard charging in at them, although they're a bit too fat, slow and heavy, and a lot of them get gunned down in the process. I'm really nice to my cav. All my cav died in this battle. So that's my cav getting shot to pieces. They actually don't last too long. They killed a few of them, but then I think they broke. Yeah, they decided to break right there. But then they slowed down the enemy Voltigers long enough for my line infantry to get there and start bayoneting his Voltigers. This game has been full of Voltigers getting bayoneted by line infantry. Poor guys. So anyway, that's my general, my last cav unit charging in to go for the enemy cannons. Although his cannons decide to break before my general can get to them. And right there you can see in one of my general staff guys just got pounded by my own cannon, so that just goes to show how nice I am to my own cav. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Napoleon Total War online commentary video, and I'll see you guys next time. Thonger out.